Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, President Donald J. Trump, followed by my regular show where I have some more breaking news on the Mike Flynn case. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to have back the President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thank you so much for joining us today. It is a great honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dan, and thank you for all of the great things you've said. You are a warrior. There aren't too many warriors out there. You are one of them, top of the list.
Well, thank you, sir. It's one of our It's a Queens guy thing. You know, you and I are from Queens. We got sharp knuckles. I posted on Facebook that you were going to be here, and the one comment I got most of all was, and I mean this is everyone can see it, it's public. A lot of the folks who are fans of mine on Facebook wanted me to extend my gratitude to you for your leadership during this crisis. So I wanted to put that out there first. I know what you've done, and I know how seriously you've taken this from the start, despite the nonsense from the media.
Well, I appreciate it. The media is so dishonest, Dan, I can't even tell you. It's terrible. Just unbelievable.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
I dedicate a lot of my show.
We're getting through it. We get through it through social media and through some other great friends. You know that.
I agree. Well, there was some breaking news this morning. The de facto Democrat nominee, Joe Biden, had to answer questions and finally broke his silence about these Tara Reade allegations of sexual assault. Mr. President, I thought you handled it very statesmanlike yesterday, hoping that Joe Biden gets due process like any other American. We wish that would happen to Republicans. Unfortunately, it doesn't because of the media. But he was asked by Mika over on MSNBC about records, University of Delaware records, and about a search of Miss Reed's name in those records and in the Senate records to see if there was, in fact, any information that would help in clearing this up. Should Joe Biden release those records, given that they've called for everything, including your kindergarten report card from you? I think it's only fair.
Well, with me, you see what goes on with me. I don't even know. I'm looking at pictures of people. I never even saw people. I mean, this is ridiculous. Every day, another one emerges. And, you talk about false accusations. So I understand that. And I could understand if he said it. I could also understand, I watched her and she seems very credible. The mother was so credible. The mother was great. And I guess a friend of hers came out. So I don't know. It's his problem. But I like to get in front of it and I just deny it. If it's not true, you deny it. And I have not. I mean, I've been a total victim of this nonsense, false accusations, and they do it. They make it. The worst victim that I've ever seen before was a very high-quality human being, Brett Kavanaugh. There's never been, Dan, a case so vicious as that, and they went after him. They didn't want to hear it. He was totally guilty, according to these very dishonest people. They're Democrats in all cases. There's never been anybody treated in the history of Congress as badly as Brett Kavanaugh, and he's an innocent man. And I look forward to the day, someday they have to sue these women because every one of them was lying. They were lying. Yeah. And I guess 3 of them have admitted it. The only one that hasn't yet is Blasey Ford. But you look at her testimony, and it's a disgrace. And what they put that man through and his family, his wife is an incredible woman, his daughters. For him to have to go through what he went through is a disgrace. And, look, I look at the double standard. You look at Biden, nobody even wants to bring up the subject. So and by the way, with somebody with far more credibility than any of those 4 people had with respect to Brett.
Well, do you think he should have those records searched for Tara Reade's name? I mean, Biden seemed rather confused this morning when asked on MSNBC, when they said to him, well, why not just search your records for her name to see if there's any records the public could see? He seemed confused and didn't give a straightforward answer. He seemed to duck the question more than anything. You think they should just search those records and Biden could clear it up tomorrow?
Well, he is a confused man. You know that. I mean, you get it. This is an amazing situation. This is what's going on here is an amazing situation. You want to know the truth. He's confused by not only that question, he's confused by every other question he's asked. But look, he's going to have to make his own decision. I'm not going to be telling him what to do. I would say this. If they're not true and if the allegations aren't true, he has to say they're false allegations, false accusations, and he has to get on with it. As far as records and all, I have no idea. He'd have to make up that decision. I can say, though, that I've been accused. You probably have too. As soon as you're famous, you get accused. And, they had it for a while at the Brett Kavanaugh. If you are accused by a woman, you are 100% guilty. You are to resign immediately from the presidency of a major corporation. You are to destroy. They're going to destroy your life. All that has to be, somebody just has to say it. It was so crazy. And you know who the most against this are? Women. Women are the most against what's happening because, as you know, they have sons and they have husbands and they have people that can be destroyed with a mere statement. So I understand where he is. I understand and he's just got to do what he's got to do. But he can deny, and then as far as records, if he had any records, that would be a great thing if he could show records and dispose of it with records. Yeah. But I've been falsely accused by people that I've never even seen. I've never even seen many of these people, and some of them I met them, zero interest. Okay, like zero, and all of a sudden you become a wealthy guy, you're a famous guy, then you become president, and people that you've never seen, that you've never heard of, make charges. So, I guess in a way you could say I'm sticking up for him, but the mother was very compelling, certainly, and the girlfriend or the friends were very compelling, and certainly far more compelling than anything they had with respect to Brett Kavanaugh. This is one of the most high-quality human beings. What they did to that family and that man is a disgrace.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even say
it's very interesting when I decided, Dan, when I gave Brett the nod, and I said, Brett, you're an incredible gentleman. I've long heard he should be on the Supreme Court. For 10 years, I've been hearing about this guy, Brett Kavanaugh. I didn't know, but I've long heard he should be. But I gave it to him in the White House. We were sitting, and I said, I'm choosing you, and I just want to congratulate you. And I said, Brett, now listen, this is going to go so fast. This is going to be so easy. You have the best education possible. You have the great family. You have everything, the perfect background. We have checked, we have studied. We don't just do this. It's and I shook his hand and I said, good luck. Brett, don't worry about a thing. It'll go so easy. And what they did to try and destroy that man, something that should have taken no time, and what they did to destroy him and his family, and they're still trying. The people are psychos. So what they did to him, and then you look at the double standard. But I would just say to Joe Biden, just go out and fight it. It's one of those things. But I'd say she's far more convincing than Blasey Ford or the other three that I believe have already recanted and said it wasn't true.
Well, I wouldn't even say you're sticking up for it. I would just say you're just applying an honest set of standards. And
give it honest. Look, you got to go through it. And he'll probably have others come out. He could have others come out. But with me, I can only tell you from my experience, it's incredible. People I never even saw before. He kissed me on the cheek, or he touched my hand when we were saying hello. He touched her hand. And I was never a big handshaker anyway, but I touched her hand. It is so crazy. And then they make it like they put the picture of the young woman on. It's a terrible thing. It's a very scary thing. And I'm just going to say it once again. The biggest opponents of this are women because they have sons, they have husbands. It's going to happen to anybody. With that, Biden's going to have to go out and fight his own battles.
Yeah. So, Mr. President, moving on, the economic damage from this virus has been profound. You are leading one of the great economic recoveries we've seen after the dreadful 8 years of the Barack Obama recovery, which wasn't much of a recovery at all. Are you pushing the payroll tax cut? I've heard you publicly mention it.
I am.
And who is getting in your way? This would be a phenomenal boost to our economy and put money in Americans' wallets tomorrow. Who's getting in your way here?
So the Democrats don't want it. It would be the easiest, the best. I've wanted this from the beginning. Payroll tax cut, both corporate and to the person, because you have you have sort of like a double edge on it. This would be precise. It would be over a period. Now, I was fine with what we've done because it's, money getting into the pockets of a lot of people. And I think that's good. And we want to save our small businesses. We're saving large businesses too. We bailed out the airline business, which, no fault of theirs. All of a sudden you have this scourge coming over and people go from packed planes to nobody flying, right? So you can't lose the business. So we helped them and got that taken care of, and other businesses also. But no, I think the payroll tax cut is really precision. It's like scalpel laden. And I would like to see that. at the same time, I'm in for take it nice and easy for a little while because, the Democrats want to bail out the states. That's what they want. They want to bail out their states. That would be New York and California and Illinois primarily, and then some others. And they're all Democrat states. Our states are doing great. Texas, Florida, many others. The Midwest, they're doing incredibly well. And I was able to get this at the last part of the negotiation. They wanted to do it in phase 1, 2, 3. I said, no, let's do that last. And I was a little surprised that they went along with it, but at least it puts us in a good negotiating position with these characters for once, because Schumer's a very, very dishonest guy. And I think AOC is going to kill him when she runs against him in the primaries. I do. I'm not a big fan of hers, but she's got a spark. He doesn't. And, I saw him on television last night. And he's got his sound bites. We've done an unbelievable job with what we're doing, and the testing and the ventilators and everything we've done. Every governor is saying, they're praising me. Schumer gets such a, we need more testing. No matter how much testing I get them, we have 6 million people tested, which is more than any other country in the world. In fact, it's more than every other country added up together. We've done more testing, and it's a better testing. And this guy gets on this stupid show last night. How these guys make money. Where is Johnny Carson? Where is Johnny Carson? But he gets on this show last night, and he starts saying, testing, it's a soundbite. We need more testing. How's Trump do? We need more testing. It's just a soundbite. So anyway, I think the guys are losing. He only brought one thing back to New York. I look at some of these senators, some of these Southern guys. Frankly, I look at Mitch. Look how much he brought to Kentucky. He brought so much to billions and billions of dollars. Schumer brought nothing. You know what he brought? Salt. You know what salt is, right? Salt is a disaster. And he never called me and said, hey, could we do something about it? I would have listened, but I never got a call from Schumer. So New York got salt. So did California.
Which is interesting, though, Mr. President, because the SALT limitations have actually, hurt some people who are paying mortgages on big, enormous houses, the wealthy. And the Democrats' entire talking point has been tax the rich more. But when it came to SALT, they want to tax the rich less. They're total frauds. But I wanted to follow up on something you said, Mr. President. On my show, I get a lot of feedback, email, Twitter, and Facebook, social media, and the state potential bailout is grotesquely unpopular, and for a number of reasons. First, you've already, Mr. President, signed a bill that's provided billions of dollars to the states. The media conveniently forgets that. Secondly, whatever the states have asked of you, even Democratic states, Governor Cuomo and Governor Newsom, no one has come out and said, oh, the president refused to give it. They said the opposite, that you've come forward with the comfort, the Javits Center, the testing, the money. The state bailouts will be a disaster. Where do you stand on that right now, considering some states fiscally manage themselves well, and places like New York, Mr. President, have buried themselves for years in unnecessary debt?
Well, I spoke with the governor of South Dakota yesterday, and she was saying how they're balanced, their budget's balanced. They have a constitutional amendment where their budget has to be balanced, and they charge almost no tax, and their primary tax is a sales tax. We're getting them at the Great Monument. We're getting them, I got fireworks for 20 years or something. It hasn't been allowed for environmental reasons. You believe that one? It's all stone. So I'm trying to say, where's the environmental reason? Anyway, I got it approved, so I'm going to go there on July 3rd, and they're going to have the big fireworks. That's South Dakota, Christie. And she was telling me about, they have virtually no debt. And many of the governors, it's Republicans, all Republican stuff. And the states are so well run. This is a Democrat point. This is by far their biggest point, and I'm in no rush. I'll be honest with you. I mean, if they do it, they're going to have to give us a lot. And I hope you're proud of me, but I was able to put that in phase 4 as opposed to phase 1, 2, and 3. And so their ask is that. And the other thing that we're talking about is infrastructure, but they want infrastructure, but I don't want it to be a Green New Deal infrastructure. I don't want to be talking about the carbon footprint. And then Obama flies to Hawaii to play golf in his plane when he was president, and then talks about how he lands and he starts giving a speech on the carbon footprint. But he flies thousands of miles to Hawaii in Air Force One, 747.
A little hypocrite.
The whole thing is crazy. No, I don't want to be talking windmills. I ended that tax with that subsidy, all of that stuff. it's amazingly. Now you look at what's going on with the prices of oil and gas. We're getting it for practically free. And you'll be proud to know that I'm filling up the strategic reserve with oil.
I heard that.
That's costing us like nothing. Nothing. Got a little lucky on that, but you have to take advantage of your luck. Because of the oil prices, I'm filling up the strategic reserve, which had a lot of empty space in it, and we're filling it up, and happily doing so.
Yeah. Mr. President, one question I get often from my audience is the national debt tsunami coming our way. Now, obviously, the virus, no one saw this coming, despite the media, faking, doing a head fake on everyone, pretending they were the ones who saw it coming, when they were saying the opposite, by the way, and calling you a xenophobe for the travel ban, which saved hundreds of thousands of lives potentially, but that's a whole other topic.
Right.
But the national debt tsunami coming our way is a real problem. The entitlements, we just don't have the money. If reelected, and I'm hoping that happens, I don't think I wear my political stripes on my sleeve. Do you have a plan for that? It really, seriously keeps me up at night. I'm not kidding.
Now you're right, and it bothers me too, but we're going to get out of it. And I'll tell you, number one, remember this, we're borrowing fairly long-term and long-term money at zero. Okay, that's the good news. Hey, that's the big difference between 0 and 5%. And, my biggest fear was always that. But we're replacing debt with really long-term good debt. Zero, it's a beautiful thing. Our dollar is very strong. The good news is that we have a strong dollar, okay? The bad news is it's harder to do business with other currencies where they're falling. But our currency is really powerful now. It's really strong. We're going to be able to do things that are going to be amazing. We're keeping it strong. We're going to be able, and what that means is we're oversubscribed every time we go out. If we want to do highways and if we want to do whatever we want to do, we're paying zero and we're oversubscribed many times what we ask for. With other places, as you know, don't have such an easy time getting money. We will, year 5, we will start doing things that will be magic. And importantly, and by the way, you'll always have your Social Security. We're not playing that game. The Democrats will never. They will ruin Social Security because whether it's Medicare for All, any of their plans, they're going to ruin Social Security. By the way, you're going to lose your fifth. You're going to lose, in my opinion, you take your Second Amendment, you take other amendments, but let's take your Second Amendment. You're going to lose your Second Amendment. You're going to lose gun rights. You know that. If they get in, you'll be losing gun rights 100%. They want to. It's amazing the shift that they've taken on that. So you're going to lose that. You're going to lose so much. I think it's going to be a very interesting election. I think that the last election, Dan, was so important, and I always said that's the most important. But we need the 4 more years so all this stuff seeds. We've done so much, including tax cuts. They want to raise taxes. They want to do everything the opposite. We're going to have tremendous growth. I think what's happening, I think you're going to have a transition. We're starting that transition soon. That'll be the third quarter. The fourth quarter is going to be incredible. And next year, I think, is going to be comparable to any year we've had. And will also be very strong on the bottom line. Now, with all of this, I have to say, the Democrats, every time we want to do something on the military for our defense, the Democrats want something that's terrible. You understand, like not a thing that not a thing you or your wife would approve. That I can tell you, Dan.
Right.
And you have to go along with it because otherwise you're not going to get the votes. We need their votes. What people don't understand, we may have majority like in the Senate, but it's 53-47. It's a small majority. And we may have, when we had it in the House, it was, you need Democrat votes. And in order to get that, you have to give away things like the last time, Kennedy Center, $25 million. I'm a fan of the Kennedy Center. Right. But I don't want to put that into COVID. But, they demand Kennedy Center. They demanded things that were terrible. But the big picture is we had to get what we had to get for the workers and for the small companies. So you're going to see incredible things happening in year 5 and 6. You're going to be very happy.
Okay. Mr. President,
we're going to have great growth. We're going to have I think we're going to have a great next year. It's going to be incredible.
I hope so. And as I've told you personally, I loved your line, "We will build it again." That's an optimistic
We're going to build it again. Look, I built it.
You gave me goosebumps when you said that.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
Well, if I can give you goosebumps, I can give anybody goosebumps. That I can tell you. I know this man. Ladies and gentlemen, I know
you.
him very well. The Bongino man. He's a great guy.
Well, thank you.
He's a sweetheart.
Mr. President, just two more quick questions for you.
He's not as tough as everyone thinks. He's a sweetheart.
No, I'm a softie. I'm a big teddy bear. Yesterday, you'd mentioned in a press conference, and of course, the media, as they always do, misconstrued your comments. You had suggested, and I'm not asking you to get into the intelligence at all, but you had suggested you had seen some evidence that the virus came from the Wuhan lab, not that it was created in the Wuhan lab, which some media folks, I was going to say something different, but out of respect for the office, I will not, said that, or implied, I should say, that you were suggesting it was created in the Wuhan lab, which you did not say. Can you just comment on that, please, so we can correct these media?
No, I didn't say that. And the question was a straightforward question. And I also really said that we'll be talking to you about it at a later date when we really know some good hard facts. Right. But I've seen a lot of things. I've seen probably every version of most of the things you've heard and some of the things you haven't heard, and you've heard pretty much all of it. But we're going to find out about it. You know, I did an incredible deal. China's been ripping us off for years. Hey, who's talked more about China than me? It was one of the between the border. Do you notice nobody talks? Do you notice the Democrats?
Mr. President, they used to make fun of you on the campaign trail how often you brought up China. And now you notice they flipped the script that you were being soft on China. Well, this is bizarre. It's like they try to retcon history.
But I talked about China as ripping us off more than, I mean, they were taking out from $300 billion to $500 billion a year out of our country, out of our hides, for years. And that is, in all fairness to Sleepy Joe, he had no idea. He has no clue. But Obama and Joe, they ripped them off so badly. But they also did it with previous administrations. I mean, this has gone on for years until I came along. And I've taken in billions and billions of dollars, literally a month. And China's never gave us 10 cents, and now they have. And even before the trade deal, remember I put tariffs, 25% on $250 billion. And they targeted our farmers, and I took the money, a small piece of it, because it did. I said, how much did the targets get? Did the farmers get targeted for, Dan? They said, sir, Sonny Perdue, who's the Secretary of Agriculture, doing a great job. They said, sir, 2 years ago it was $12 billion. This year it's $16 billion. I said, good. We'll take $12 billion and we'll take $16 billion out of our tariff money. We have a lot left over, like tens of billions left over from China, and we'll give it. And I gave $12 billion the year before, and they gave $16 billion last year, and we're giving $19 billion this year. Nobody ever did that. And one of the reasons that the other administrations never challenged China is they thought that they'd take advantage of us. I said, no, you're going to pay tariffs of 25% on $250 billion. That's a lot of money. Plus 10% on any money over that. So you're going to pay tariffs. And they did. So we've taken in tens of billions of dollars, and I've been able to help the farmers who were unfairly targeted. I mean, you haven't heard any complaints, I'll tell you. And, you know, the farmers love me and I love them. But the thing about the Democrats, like, as an example, they want open borders. So look how well I've done at the border. That border is sealed, except where farmers need people coming through. You know, we make it actually easier. We can't hurt our farmers, you know, et cetera, with certain people coming through. But the border is sealed, and we built 170 miles of wall already, and it's moving forward at a rapid rate. Every week we build 2, 3, 4, more miles. I'll have by early next year, the wall will be complete. Nobody ever talks about it. You know, the Democrats don't talk about it because they now know that was a bad political move. They opposed me on the wall. And Dan, I'll say nobody else but me could have gotten that wall. We had the Democrats. I got $738 billion for the military, but they wouldn't give you 10 cents for a wall. And we're building the wall, 170, over 100, I think it's 172 miles as of today. And in the area where the wall is, nobody comes in. That wall is a powerful wall. That was done. We went to the Border Patrol and we said, give us your ultimate wall because I'll build the ultimate. Might as well do it right. And we built them a wall which is concrete and steel. It's got every aspect in it. And it's loaded up with the wall is loaded up with very sensitive equipment and everything else. So we have a wall, and in that 170 miles, it's like a new life for the people on the other side. But people can't come through, so it's been very good. But they don't talk about that anymore, and they don't talk about the fact, Dan, that they want open borders where everyone pours into our country. But we don't allow that.
Mr. President, last question for you. So the recent revelations against General Mike Flynn, an American patriot, are beyond disturbing. As a former federal agent myself, what happened to him is an international disgrace and an embarrassment. I personally don't have a lot of faith in Director Wray, but what can FBI Director Wray, what can the FBI and DOJ do to ensure this never happens again? And do you trust Director Wray to enact reforms to ensure innocent Americans are not targeted again with a scheme like what happened to General Flynn?
It's a disgrace what happened to General Flynn. It was a setup from day one. You picked it up in about 2 hours, okay? And by the way, the other side knows it was a scam, but it's not to their advantage. Do you know that if you look at MSDNC and if you look at fake news CNN, do you know they don't even talk about General Flynn today? And yet, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, when he was under persecution, not prosecution, persecution, when they were persecuting him, he made up their whole show. And now that they find out he's totally innocent, because you look at this and more is coming out, they find out he's innocent, they don't even talk about it. You don't even see a soundbite that the man is innocent. It's a disgrace. He's an innocent man, and one way or the other, he's innocent. And you know what that means. One way or the other, he's innocent. But hopefully he can be exonerated fully, because they have to give his wife back. They've destroyed him. They've destroyed his family. Now, ultimately, they were looking to destroy the presidency. They were looking to destroy a duly elected president who beat the hell out of a horrible candidate called Crooked Hillary. And now, fortunately, we have another horrible candidate, frankly, a far worse candidate who, I don't even know if he's going to be the candidate, to be honest. I don't know that that's going to happen. But, let's hope so. Let's see what they do. Sleepy Joe. And
will you be asking Attorney General Barr when this is said and done to be looking into this and Director Wray to make sure that this never happens again?
I mean, look, this stuff came from Attorney General Barr.
He's doing a great job.
From anywhere. Remember when he was on Laura 2 weeks ago, the whole world got shaken up. He just gives a very simple answer. He's a very cool guy, actually.
I like that.
He gives like this little answer, and then Laura, who's great, she goes on to the next question, and then she goes, "Whoa, wait, what did you just say?" She goes back because he gave a very strong answer 2 weeks ago, and yet it said so beautifully, and he carries a big stick. He's a strong guy, Bill. He's doing a great job. I'll tell you what, you're going to see what a good job he's doing. And I let him do it. I don't get involved. I say, Bill, you have to do what's right. I can get involved. In theory, I'm the chief law enforcement. I can. But I think it's better if I don't. And, so far, I think that. But I can legally, I can get involved. Legally, I could head it up. But I am, wait till you see what's happening. And again, I let the professionals handle it. But Bill Barr is a total professional, and I think people are going to see things. We hope Lindsey starts with his Judiciary Committee. I mean, that should get going. That really should get going. He's got so much information. You could go on for years, the information he's got. That Comey report, 78 pages from Horowitz, was a fantastic report. I have a lot of respect for Horowitz. He did a fantastic job on that. And, he's a Democrat. He was appointed by a Democrat, but he's been very fair. That was a 78-page kill of Comey and McCabe. They did a report on him, and we'll see what happens. But Bill Barr is doing a very good job. And
your decision to fire Jim Comey,
you can view that
looks
as
like
Bill Barr. I mean, that was terrible. Nobody can even believe what they're seeing. And the other networks don't even, any of them, the big net, the main networks, NBC is a disgrace. NBC, I think, is worse than, I think it's more fake. It's Comcast. I call them Concast with an N. They're disgraceful. That they can use free public airwaves and give fake news all night long. And just as much on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. He's another beauty. Now, it's so much fake news. It's hard to explain to your audience how fake it is. And, the hard part, you understand this better than anybody. I know it's fake because I'm in it. An audience member sitting out there, one of our citizens sitting out there listening, they don't know it's fake because they have no idea. But I do things that in many cases are so good, and they'll make them look so bad. And in some cases, I'll do something wrong. I don't mind. Let them report it correctly. But we do great things, and they Like ventilators. Everything was ventilators. We had virtually no ventilators, a big thing. We now are the king of it. We have mobilized this country, and now we're giving them to other countries. You don't hear anything about that. Yeah. They were killing us on when I took over, the cupboard was bare. Yeah. We didn't have medical supplies and all of the things that we should have had under the Obama administration. So we did a good job. You don't hear about it. But the press is just very dishonest. They're the enemy of the people.
The decision to fire Jim Comey is looking better by the day also, Mr. President.
I think if I didn't fire him, I probably wouldn't be here. He was leading, along with others, including people that were above him. And you understand that very well. It's impossible for him to have done it himself. I think Jim Comey is turning out to be a very stupid man who is... You take a look at that report. Just anybody reads that 78-page report, you learn a lot about Jim Comey. But I think he's a dummy. He's a dumb person. He got caught trying to overthrow the president of the United States, and he should pay a big price for that.
Well, Mr. President, thank you so much for your time. It is really an honor for you to come back and join our show here. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everything you're doing, getting us through this crisis. Really appreciate your leadership. Your go-get-em businessman style, I think, is exactly what we needed right now. So thank you, sir. We deeply appreciate it.
I want to thank you for doing just an incredible job. You're really a voice, both of us, a voice in the wilderness. And there are some of us, and I'll tell you what, we're getting between Sean and Laura and plenty of other people. We're getting the word out, and we're getting it out strong. And the people get it, Dan. The people really get it. They see it. And Gallup just came out with a poll where I'm leading Biden, and pretty substantially too, especially on important elements. But they don't put it out. And Gallup is no friend of mine. Believe me, they got the first one wrong. And they came out with a poll I'm leading. You never hear that stuff. It's all fake. They make it all up. They literally make everything. They make so much up. So I just want to thank you. You've been a friend of mine in the sense, and by the way, Dan, you've been a friend of mine in the sense that you're honest and you're a pro, and therefore you're a friend of the country. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Thanks again for joining us.
You take care. So long. Bye.
All right, I had to lose the tie. Producer Joe, what did you think of that interview with President Trump?